I am here today to talk about this amazing book, Dead Pretty, with the most incredible author, Robyn Nyx. Welcome so much.
Thank you very much, and what a lovely introduction that was.
I'm just so excited. I absolutely adored this book, as you may have told by my little review spiel. But I was so excited when you said yes to coming on here. Thank you so much for spending the time with us.
Oh, not a problem at all. Thank you very much for having me and taking your time to do this.
Yay. All right, I'm going to ask a question first that most authors basically want to kill me for later, but it's fun. Can you sum up Dead Pretty in 3 words?
Oh, 3 words. Okay.
Yeah.
Serial killer rescue.
Oh, that was way too easy. Damn it. No, that was brilliant. I love stumping him. Oh, that's brilliant.
You see, now that question's going to keep going and I'm going to be thinking of 3 more. And in the middle of the night, I'm going to start twittering you.
Excellent. Bring it on. I love it. That's brilliant. Where did the idea for Dead Pretty first come from?
Oh, okay. It's from a short story that I wrote for an anthology called Girls Next Door. And I had this thought about a hot mortician and a detective or some sort of police person. And they get to know each other and then start to be really good friends and go out together. And all the time, Dak's crush is, building, but she doesn't think that CJ is interested. And then it all culminates when Dak sort of rescues CJ from an unpleasant altercation with a guy that she's brought home. And yes, it went from there. And then I had this what if question of, if a serial killer has such a deep belief in what he's doing, and he's creating this wonderful art as he sees it, and then a mortician is actually rewinding that and making the person look as they were, back in real life, how would that serial killer feel and how would they react? And I got the idea for the kind of the mortician from a program called 6 Feet Under back in I think it was the early 2000s, which I absolutely adored.
Love that show. It was
Fantastic
brilliant.
Show. Yeah, and I remember, I think it was very much in the first series and the second series, and they kind of stopped doing it. But in the earlier series, they used to have these sort of flash cut incidents where you saw the person dying.
Yes.
And then, Rodrigo was fixing them and making them look fabulous again. And the one that stuck with me was where there was a woman out of the top of a limousine and she was screaming away and having lots of fun, and then she smacked into this sign with her. And it was very, very visual and obviously very gruesome, and that kind of stuck with me. And as I say, I mean, that program is probably 15 years old, but it was in there. And then it kind of married up with this serial killer, somebody reversing their work kind of thing. And then I thought, oh, okay, what do I do with this? I can populate it with these characters, and then started to, to really develop the story.
That's brilliant. I absolutely love that. Is that short story still available for people to read?
Yeah. It's called Heart Halfway Gone. It is on Kindle Unlimited, but it's also available as a freebie when you sign up to my newsletter.
Yay! I will make sure I get that detail. Is it on your website to sign up for your newsletter?
As soon as you go into it, a little pop-up should come up.
I'll make sure I put that down in the comments as well, just the link for your website, so that people can go sign up and get the freebie. That's so exciting. I love Dak. I know I'm so subtle about it, but I think she's just such a fabulous character. She's just so absolutely well-rounded. But who was your favorite character to write?
Oh gosh. That's a tough one, because I had quite an equal love for these two. The Chase Stinson adventures, which obviously we don't want to talk about too much because we're doing Dead Pretty, but those were born, I mean, they're called the Chase Stinson Adventures. So Chase was supposed to be the main character, but as I started to develop and write those, Rain became far more interesting because her character arc and journey is much longer than Chase's. Chase is kind of already in this high moral ground and has got her life together and stuff. But in this one, I think it was both, because they both had so much growth to do, and I suppose CJ is the one that grows the most. So I don't have a favorite for this one.
Wow. Yeah, no, that's cool. I love the growth of them, and I love the relationships that you've created in this book. Like, there are so many more relationships than just CJ and Dak. Like CJ and her best mate, I mean, both of them with their families and the developments of that. And I absolutely loved Dak and her partner. The relationship between, the relationship between those two was absolutely adorable. I just loved it, and it was such brilliant banter. It absolutely had me. I did want to ask, so obviously this is a crime book. Anyone who hasn't seen the cover a million times, look how beautiful it is. It is such a cool cover. It's in books. They're a different genre, aren't they?
Yeah, they're action, adventure, romance.
Wow, awesome. Do you write in any other genres?
I do. In fact, and here's one I made earlier.
Yay!
Just 1 second. Let me see if I can pull it out. This is sci-fi romance. And it's a whole trilogy. Yeah, it's Escape in Time, Change in Time, and Death in Time. But you can't get hold of those at the moment because I published them with Bold Strokes, but I've bought my rights back. And I will be going through them, editing them, launching them with new covers. And the plan is to do that in the autumn, winter of this year and have it sort of October, November, December release.
Oh my gosh, I am so looking forward to that. I am such a huge fan of speculative fiction, and it's so cool seeing more Sapphic spec fic out there, because it's still, you know, very small percentage of the overall Sapphic fiction, definitely. And I'm just craving it, so I can't wait.
I think if you, with you liking Dak, I think you'll adore both Landry and Delaney, because it's very much about the bromance between Landry and Delaney. There's a kind of a best friend with benefits thing going on early on.
Excellent.
But Landry is our main character, and she falls for somebody else that's outside of the organization. And it's all about them going back in time to fix the life of one person whose life has ended before they achieved something that would have made huge changes for, absolutely huge impact for the rest of the world.
That sounds amazing.
So it's very intense. It's kind of kick-ass women, really strong women that, you know, basically punch the guys and kiss the girls.
I love it. That's so exciting. And what genre do you prefer to write in?
Oh gosh, I love them. Obviously I've done this was my first kind of thriller romance-ish, because I also did Never Enough, which I'm about to re-release within the next month or so. But that's going to be called Let Love Be Enough. And I'm currently going through a rewrite with that. And that's a celebrity romance type thing, but there's a third point of view that has a female head of an organ trafficking gang. So a very nasty little character, but you get to know her because you're in her POV, so you understand why she is the way she is and what she does. I love the chase ones, you know, the adventure stuff. And then I also wrote Music City Dreamers, which is a very pure romance. But I like to play, basically.
Mix it up.
Yeah, absolutely. So long as there's a nice strong romance in there and lots of moral questions to play with and social issues, without kind of getting up on my soapbox. I like to have some depth to my books.
Yeah, no, I love that. And I did hear, from you, I think it was your Twitter, that we may see more of Dak and you writing crime. Is this correct?
That's correct. Yes, yeah. About 3 or 4 years ago, I put together a proposal for a book called Stolen Ambition. And it's basically about a Mexican writer who is coming up against the publishing industry, can't get published. So she just uses her initials to get published. And suddenly she's fabulous because it's, you know, it's non-gendered, and they think, oh, it's not a woman, so it's fine. And then it's picked up to be published, and somebody else wants the screenwrites, and it's brilliant. But she's got a friend
oh, no.
who decides to steal that whole, she wants out of where they are. So she steals the identity, manages to get the author actually put in kind of a drug gang, kind of picking hashish leaves for under duress, while she goes off to LA and becomes Faye. And then you've got the drug gang has got a daughter, or the family has got a daughter, and she wants out of the family business. She wants to be, you know, she's trained to be a lawyer, and she wants out of the business. They meet, and basically a romance develops from that, and the idea is that she's going to rescue her and get her out there, and all is well with the world. But when I was writing Dead Pretty, I thought, oh, maybe I could, when it ended and Dak goes over to LA with CJ, I thought, oh, that whole world is kind of interconnected, you know, in the same way that Elodie is from Never Enough, Let Love Be Enough, and Paige, CJ's agent, is Elodie's agent. And I thought I could kind of have them go off on holiday to Mexico and sort of come across this and see where it goes. So
I love that stuff.
That book is going to end up as a 3 POV book with Dak, and probably I'll pull Hamilton into it at some point as well.
Yay! Oh, that's fantastic. I absolutely love her. I think she's just, the moment you kind of get introduced to her, she's so very full of life. Like, she's just such a big presence, and it's just so fabulous.
Excellent.
So do you write full time?
I don't. I run a community interest company with my wife and fellow author Bray Willows. Up there she is. Yep. And my little cartoon version of her. So we run that, and we deliver writing treats. We've just come back from one, and we had Emma Nichols there, and Valden Bush, and AJ Mason, Evie Bancroft, Maggie McIntyre was there. So we run writing retreats.
Yeah, saw some of the photos. It looked amazing.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun, so we run those at various levels for new writers and writers going through their journey. And then we also can do everything to do with a book, so helping you develop it, edit it, turn it into a book, turn it into an ebook, do the cover design, all of that stuff.
Oh, wow.
And then we also do community work. So we work with LGBT charities, we work with the NHS, the National Justice Museum, to get regular people's stories heard. So that's kind of what I do day to day, and obviously editing other people's words. And then each night, Bray and I come in here, and I'll show you. See, we have a side-by-side chair situation going on.
Cool.
And then we sit in here for a couple of hours every night and at the weekend, and carve out the words.
That's amazing.
It's a good life.
Yeah, it just sounds absolutely fantastic. And how wonderful to have a partner who understands, because they're also in the industry, and understands when you have to just kind of disappear into the words for a little bit.
That's right. That's exactly right. Yeah.
Now, sorry, I can't stop looking at the guitar. Do you play?
I do, yes. I used to be in a rock band, would you believe?
Oh my gosh, that is fantastic.
Yeah, so this is my semi-acoustic guitar, and my electric guitar is in the house.
Wow, just creative all around.
I like to play with things, yes, play with words. And obviously music's very much about the words and storytelling as well. So yeah.
You still get time to read with all the writing and everything else? Yay!
Yeah, definitely. It's I know some writers say, oh, I'm too busy to write. I'm too busy writing to be able to read. But that to me is a little bit short-sighted. You should be reading constantly because it can help you improve your craft. It helps you see, you know, new ways of doing things. It also helps you see how not to do things as well.
Yes.
I think it's really important to read widely, as well as, you know, the writing. You shouldn't, to me, you shouldn't get isolated in one to the detriment of reading.
Yeah, I completely agree. I think the best, you know, the best way to learn to write, other than actually writing, is to read. Like, you will learn everything just from reading, and reading a variety of stuff. I love that. Did you read growing up?
Oh, yes. Yeah. I used to read voraciously.
What type
all
of
the
books
classics. The classics, to be fair, and lots of Shakespeare. And my mum, there was, you know, those magazines you get with the book, and they started like over here. I mean, at the time, there used to be like the first edition, or the first magazine one would be 99p, and then after the first one, they were 4.99, and you'd get a magazine and you'd get this book. So my mum scrimped and saved and got me that book, this magazine subscription every, well, it wasn't a subscription then, you used to have to go to the shop and find it on the magazine rack, but and every month I'd get a new book, and I ended up with this huge collection of beautiful hardback books of Shakespeare and Tess of d'Urbervilles and Charles Dickens and the poets and everything. So it was something that my mum nurtured in me from a young age. Yeah.
Oh, I love that. I think reading is one of the most beautiful things that we have in this world. Like, all the creative areas I adore, but reading, you can go anywhere, you can go everywhere. And I love the emotions, the feelings, everything that comes from reading. It's my little happy place.
Absolutely. And words are so powerful, aren't they? I mean, obviously in the wrong hands, they can be used to hurt, but in the right hands, they can just make you feel so good and transport you to all these wonderful places and sit alongside these characters while they're navigating their life. And the best books make you feel everything that the characters are feeling and really take you along that journey. So yeah,
absolutely.
It is a wonderful thing.
Oh, absolutely. And what book could you recommend that you've read recently?
Oh, well, I'm a lover of memoir. I do love true stories. I've just finished Sharon Stone's The Beauty of Living Twice, and I adore that because I've always loved Sharon Stone. First of all, I loved her for, in the nicest possible way, what she looks like.
Oh, absolutely.
I admit to being that shallow. And, you know, and obviously discovering her in Basic Instinct, and then The Quick and the Dead when she wore those leather pants, and it was just like, oh my goodness. And then to go on to discover she's got an IQ, Mensa IQ kind of level. She's such an intelligent, fantastic human being, that it was that story is fabulous. And it's about when she had the brain sort of bleed that was, I mean, goodness me, the stuff that she went through with that, and then hearing about what she went through as a woman in that industry and the decisions taken away from her. Yeah, so that's what I've read most recently and would recommend. But I've just picked this book up, which is the Breakup Monologues by Rosie Wilby.
I've seen that advertised.
Yeah, so I'm looking forward to diving into that, because Rosie's actually joining us for our Queer the Shelves event in
that's where I've seen it.
Yeah.
I've seen that cover recently. Absolutely. Wow. That totally makes sense.
Yeah.
Oh, fantastic. We have some questions that actually are from our book club members.
Brilliant.
And yes, I was pretty excited. So why did you decide on a murder and not some other crime?
That was because the what if question, what if a serial killer was, you know, as I say, and his work was being reversed. So that was then built into the story. So a lot of my books start with that what if question that's very small. And then it's like, okay, well, if that's happening, who is around? Who's populating that story? Who's driving that story?
Because this is actually, I'm so sorry to say this, but this is the first book of yours I've actually read.
That's all right. No worries.
So I don't know, but I have had someone ask, do you find it harder to write a relationship that starts with sex and then has to find something from it? Or do you prefer the slow burns where they get to know each other before the sex?
No, I don't care, basically.
No?
I love writing and developing the relationships, and sometimes I have an idea of where that first sex is going to happen, and obviously I structure it out that way, and it was always going to be a kind of a friends with benefits, just a sex relationship for these two that then developed. So no, I don't have a preference. I love to write whatever I'm writing at the time, whether that's, you know, intense fast burn or whether it's slow burn. But for me, what I can't write, because I don't, in the nicest possible way, well, I've not tried to write it, but that's because it doesn't really interest me very much, is the friends to lovers thing, in terms of have been friends for a long time, because I don't believe in it. In the nicest possible way. I think one or other has always had to have had something, and they might have buried it. They might have buried it deep, but there's always, for me, I always believe in there's a spark. There's something that attracts
there has to
you
be.
That person.
Absolutely. I haven't actually read a lot of Friends to Lovers, but I did recently read one of Jay's, and it was fabulous. The chemistry lessons, I think it was. And one of them did have a crush right back then and then buried it. And I'm like, see, that's believable. I can be on board with that. But I get it. Like, you've got to at least one of them has got to be feeling something at some point.
I think so. Yeah, definitely.
Absolutely. So when you write, are you a plotter or a discovery writer, or somewhere in between?
I'm very much a plotter in terms of a loose idea of what's going on. So I'll know who my characters are. I know exactly where they've been to school, what their friends were, what tattoos they've got, what their parents were like, because all of that informs how they act in the book. It informs how they react to what somebody says to them, how they react when they see a crisis. Do they move away from it, or do they run towards it? All of that behavior comes from how they were as a young person and that development. So it's important for me to know my characters. And I've got a little piece of wood up there that's hand carved: know your characters as well as you know yourself. And that's
fantastic.
It sits there right in front of me, so that I know that's what I'm going for. So I know my characters inside out, because it's them speaking. It's not me speaking if I was an FBI agent, or me speaking if I was a mortician. It's Dak speaking, it's CJ speaking. So I have to know them, you know, that well. And then I obviously have to plot out, particularly with action adventures and clues, puzzles, you know, thrillers, the sci-fi trilogy. I had to plot each book out, and then an arc for the whole trilogy, for the character arcs. So I do a character development arc as well. And then once I've done all that, I'll do a chapter by chapter, sort of plotting out. You know how you see the cartoons for movies, where they do each scene like that. I'll do that. Yeah, I do a storyboard, effectively, a very basic one. It'll just be who's in it, whose POV it is, and what's happening. And then from that will be the scene. And then that allows me some discovery. and it's just like, oh, I didn't know that was going to happen. But the thing is, the things that you think, oh, I didn't know that was going to happen, are because the brain is so clever. You put all this stuff into it and bring it to the forefront. And meanwhile, it then goes, I'm going to take that and I'm going to run with it. And you won't know that's what's happening, but that's what I'm doing at the back. And it's like, oh, that's why I introduced that character, because they were going to do that. So your brain's worked it all out and done the planning for you. So yeah, no, not a plotter, because I feel you can go on and on, and you can get saggy middles, and you can get lost in the story. If you don't know your character when you begin, how can you know how they're going to feel in a sex scene?
Yeah, or how they're going to react to something unexpected happening.
Exactly. Yeah,
absolutely. No, that 100% makes sense. How long did it take you to write Dead Pretty?
I think it was about 4 months.
Is that from the very first kind of idea of it and then to published?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. Well, that's from the very first idea of it to the edited version of it. Yeah. Yeah.
Cool. Sorry, that's what I meant.
That's all right.
That's fantastic. Do you actually track your writing at all? I'm really curious about which
I do. And I it's funny you asked that question. It's almost as if you told me I'd done it. So that's kind of it.
Wow.
So each day I'll put the date in, and then I'll put my word count, the running word count, and then work out how many words I've done each day. And then I can see my kind of writing streak, because when you're in a book, to me it's important that you're writing every day if you can, so you can keep those threads alive. You're knowing what's going on all the time. It's important.
Absolutely, that makes sense, because I mean, you have to be inside their head. If you take days off, like, you're going to miss that flow and that rhythm that comes straight into it. That's amazing that you write it all down. I love that. So
I'm very goal orientated and very numbers. So anything that I can, and it pushes me, because I'm like, oh damn, I only got 1,500 words out that day. I've got to must try harder.
Oh wow, that's so cool. I love when you find those little kind of tricks that help kind of push you through. So do you have any advice to new authors as to how they can push through those rejections and those harder days, and just to keep writing? Basically.
I think it's to try to believe in yourself and your ability to write those stories, because nobody else can write the stories that you've got in your head. And until they're on that page, nobody can help you edit them. Nobody can help you get them out into the world. So keep going. And you've got to, you just do a Google search and look for famous authors rejected. And there's was it Hemingway that plastered his walls with the rejection letters? There are other famous authors that had 48 rejection letters before they had their first publishing deal, and now they're multi-billionaires. So it's about perseverance. It's about learning from every rejection and finding something positive in that rejection that you can use to improve your craft. If somebody says, well, I like the idea of the story, but your writing craft is lacking, okay, what am I going to do about that? I'm going to go on a writing course. I'm going to get a writing book. I'm going to learn about, if somebody says you're head hopping all over the place, and you were like, what the hell does head hopping mean? You don't know what you don't know until somebody points it out to you. So go on the courses, read the writing craft books, but don't prescribe to a particular thing. A book that tells you this is how you must do it is not kind of the way to go. No. It's good to read widely and then pick up what works for you. There are rules, in terms of point of view and character development and all of that stuff. But it's learning those rules and then learning how to break them and being aware that you're doing that, rather than just willy-nilly breaking them because you don't know what they are.
I love that. And absolutely, I completely agree. When you were talking about Hemingway, it reminded me of Stephen King and his Spike. that he put all the, you know, when you used to get their physical rejection slips, and how he actually broke the spike because he had that many rejection slips, and just little things like that can just help you push through when you're like, okay, I can't compare someone's, you know, 50-year career to your first year sort of thing.
Yeah.
So absolutely. No, I love that advice. And what, sorry.
I was just going to say it as well. And the thing is, there are so many avenues of publishing now. You can produce quality self-published books, and people can make a good living out of that. They get a lot of creative control with that. But you know, get the help that you can afford. When you're starting off, you might not have the money to get a proper editor or a proper cover designer. And it's kind of that chicken egg situation between making a first impression that's really good and then moving on and hoping that readers follow you. But for instance, Emma Nichols had wrote 9 books and was doing superbly well, and was a best-selling lesfic author before she came to me. And now I think she's at 15 books. We're on our 6th book together. But when she started, she just wanted to write the book, and she didn't know what she didn't know. And then she came on a beginner writing retreat, and then on an intermediate one, and then the advanced, and then the do it one, and she's already booked on for the next time. So she invested in herself. Yeah. So, you know, you might not be able to afford a good editor, and by a good editor I mean one that's actually trained to do it, rather than somebody that says, well, I can read so I can edit. No, you can't. It's a very specific set of skills. It is. So, you know, it's investing in yourself as you go along. Maggie McIntyre, you know, is the same. She's produced 8 books, and now she's working with me. So it's building up so that you're making a really good product, you know, that one that you can be proud of. Yes, I like that. That absolutely makes 100% sense. I absolutely love it. Thank you so much for joining us. That's all right. One last question. What are you working on now? I will be shortly. Are you able to say? I will be shortly starting to plan Stolen Ambition, but at the moment I'm working on the edits for Let Love Be Enough, and that should come out probably May, June time. But if you join my newsletter, you get exclusive cover reveals and 4-chapter previews. And if you join the, my Butterworth Books newsletter, then you have the same kind of thing with all of the authors that work with Butterworth Books. So Evie Bancroft, Valden Bush, AJ Mason, Lee Haven, all of those authors. So you get lots of freebies. Oh, that's fantastic. Once again, thank you so much. And for anyone watching who hasn't read this, go read it. It's so good. Yes. Crime books are fabulous. Yay! I just love the cover too. Like, it is such a striking cover. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, it's just absolutely beautiful. Just flows with the theme of the art in the book, and it's wonderful. But yes, thank you so much for joining us and taking the time to chat with me while I basically fangirl about your writing. No problem at all. It's been an absolute pleasure talking to you and meeting you properly. It's lovely. Yes, it's been great. Thank you so much, Robyn. No worries. Cheers then. Bye bye. Yeah.